Here are the top stories for today, July 6, 2021. Final salute. President Rodrigo Duterte pays his last respects to troops who died in last weekend's C-130 plane crash in Sulu. He assures their sacrifices will not be in vain. Vaccination going full steam. Over 11 million Filipinos have already been vaccinated against COVID-19, and the figures are expected to rise as vaccine supplies pour into the country. Dealing with a brewing disaster, government agencies continue to provide assistance to those affected by the continued unrest of the Taal volcano. And a sigh of relief for consumers. The country's inflation, or the rate of increase in prices of goods and services, eased to 4.1% in June. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, the nation is still grieving with the family of soldiers who perished in the tragic C-130 plane crash in Sulu. President Rodrigo Duterte personally visited and consoled the families in Zamboanga City. The details from Marita Mawahe.
President Rodrigo Duterte assured the families of soldiers killed and injured in the recent C-130 plane crash that their sacrifices will not go in vain. During his visit to the AFP Western Mindanao Command in Zamboanga City, the President said the life of a soldier is always valuable, whether in the fields of fighting or events such as this.
They died for our country. And for that, I am very grateful for those who died and those who perished.
The President also vowed to provide a bigger budget for the armed forces of the Philippines.
Pero dito sa panahon ko, I assure you that I will add more benefits for your family. Gusto kong maglagay ng malaking pera para sa Armed Forces of the Philippines. Yan lang ang mabawi ko sa sundalo, lalo na yung namatay. That their families will be protected, that their families will be comfortable, at yung daily living and education of the children will be assured.
President Duterte also visited the Camp Navarro General Hospital in Zamboanga City to award the Order of Lapu-Lapu with the rank of Kampilan to injured soldiers. He later proceeded to the Naval Forces for Western Mindanao to lead the symbolic conferment of the Order of Lapu-Lapu with the rank of Kalasag to the fallen soldiers. Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana said the death toll from the mishap has climbed to 52 with the addition of 2 military fatalities. Meanwhile, senators offered condolences to the families of the fallen soldiers. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa said the unfortunate incident is a wake-up call to further modernize the armed forces of the Philippines. For Senator Francis Pangilinan, an investigation is needed to find ways to avert another tragedy. Senator Grace Poe echoed Pangilinan's call to see what can be done to avoid a repeat of the tragic crash. Senator Coco Pimentel said he is deeply saddened by the crash and thanked the personnel who died for their service to the nation. And for Senator Risa Hontiveros, the government should ensure that all benefits due to the families will be released without delay and they be accorded the proper military honors upon burial. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Mawahe.
Working towards a better Christmas, the government says almost 12 million Filipinos are now vaccinated against COVID-19. The latest data from the National Task Force Against COVID-19 show that a total of 11,708,029 individuals are already vaccinated against COVID-19. Of the number, 8,839,124 individuals have received their first dose, while 2,868,905 already have completed their 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine as of July 4. The government is urging those in the A1 to A5 category who have not yet received their COVID-19 vaccination to register and avail of the free jabs. Meanwhile, those who received their first dose are reminded to complete their second dose as scheduled. The public is also urged to keep practicing the minimum public health standards as the transmission of infections is still possible regardless of vaccination status. Local government units are finding ways to ramp up inoculation drive in their locality. In Davao City, a vaccination center specifically caters to BPO workers. And in Bacolod City, local officials encourage more residents to avail themselves of the free jabs. The details from Joyce Cudis.
Intensified vaccination drive is ongoing in Eastern Visayas, especially for health workers, elderlies, and those with comorbidities. The Health Department says at least 315,535 doses of the COVID-19 vaccines have been administered as of July 2. In Davao City, the local government held a 3-day industry-based vaccination targeting an estimated 50,000 BPO employees. As such, a total of 1,711 employees have received their first dose of the Sinovac vaccine. The City Health Office earlier said that offices like BPO companies and banks recorded high cases of COVID-19 transmission due to poor ventilation. And in Bacolod City, Mayor Evilio Leonardias said he is hoping that more residents will be encouraged to get the free COVID-19 vaccine as he has already completed the 2 doses of AstraZeneca jab. Leonardia received his second dose on July 3 at the Bacolod City Government Center Vaccination Hub after taking the first shot in the same venue on April 17. The city government had purchased 650,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine through a tripartite agreement. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Joyce Cudis.
Manila City held a night vaccination along Recto Avenue to include those who bring and deliver produce in Recto and Divisoria markets in their vaccination program. As such, porters, pedicab drivers, and vendors took advantage of the city's night vaccination program. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso said the special vaccination was done in Recto for workers who are unable to go to vaccination sites during the day because they need to earn a living. He said the night vaccination is part of the city's goal to inoculate as many people as possible within the shortest time. The Philippine National Police is on guard against travelers who may present fake vaccination cards. This after the IATF eased their rules on interzonal travel, crossing out the negative swab test result on the checklist as long as the person is fully vaccinated. PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar said police would coordinate with the local government units on the latest directive and will ensure that the vaccination cards presented by the travelers are indeed valid. Eleazar said that if the result of the RT-PCR test are being falsified, it is not far off that some persons will also use fake vaccination documents. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque renewed his warning against the illegal sale of COVID-19 jabs. He said it is inhuman to make a business out of the suffering of other people, especially now that there is a scarce global supply of vaccines.
Pero ulitin ko lang po, no? Government will go all out in investigating kung sino po ang nasa likod nitong bentahan nito kasi hindi po ibinebenta ang mga bakuna. At hindi po tayo papayag na nanakawin ng bakuna para magkaroon ng pera ang iba. Para sa pandemya po ito, mga kababayan, mahiya naman kayo kung pagkakakitaan nyo pa itong pagdadalamhati ng ating bayan dahil nga po sa pandemya.
Restrictions are still in place in some areas to prevent a spike in the number of COVID-19 infections. In San Fernando City, La Union, residents are urged to strictly abide by the minimum health standards to contain the spread of COVID-19. The city was among those identified with a high number of COVID-19 cases in the entire country, as 17 out of the 59 barangays were identified as high risk with at least 7 COVID-19 cases. Local officials are proposing to revert the city from Modified General Community Quarantine or MGCQ to General Community Quarantine or GCQ with restrictions. Meanwhile, residents in South Cotabato are reminded anew to strictly comply with the restrictions on mass gatherings as the province is placed under the General Community Quarantine status or GCQ. This as the local government monitored a wedding reception held at the Municipal Gymnasium of Lake Cebu. Under GCQ, some events are allowed but only at 30% venue capacity, while weddings and wakes should be limited to 10 persons. And in Borongan City in Eastern Samar, travelers from the region will only need to present a QR code and valid identification card as the city lifted the Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine or MECQ status. Meanwhile, those going inside Borongan from outside the region will still need to present a negative swab test or saliva test with a 3-day validity before their arrival, present a QR code and a valid identification card. Still to come, helping hand, various agencies continue to monitor Taal volcano's activity and aid those affected by its unrest. And the country's inflation slows to 4.1% in June. Details ahead, this is the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective. I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. More help is underway for the residents affected by the Taal volcano rumblings. The details from Chris Mundo.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, continuously assesses the damage to households brought by the restive Taal volcano. The DSWD has so far delivered 500 family tents and 1 million pieces of face masks to Laurel and Batangas City, as well as family food packs to Agoncillo and Laurel. The Batangas provincial government also reported receiving 1,000 hygiene kits, 4,000 family kits, 215 sleeping kits, 48 boxes of coffee, and 72 family tents from the DSWD. At least 1,700 persons from Batangas towns are staying in various evacuation centers. Meanwhile, the Department of Science and Technology in Calabarzon recently turned over livelihood assistance for Taal volcano evacuees. The local government unit of Laurel, Batangas, received a plastic densifier to help establish a plastic blocks production enterprise. The Lisay LGU, on the other hand, received fishing equipment. The DOST allocated over 1.5 million pesos for the livelihood assistance in Laurel, of which 1.1 million pesos will be used for hollow blocks production, while the remaining amount will be for plastic blocks production. Moreover, the Department of Health will provide COVID-19 vaccines and antigen test kits to various evacuation centers in Batangas. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said they will also increase vaccine allocation and improve the monitoring process to reduce COVID-19 transmission. For his part, PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar ordered the PNP Medical Reserve Force to prepare for possible deployment to help speed up the COVID-19 vaccination drive in Batangas. Eleazar said the PNP is ready to secure and enforce minimum public health safety standards in evacuation facilities to prevent the further spread of the coronavirus. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
The Department of Health, or DOH, on Monday denied Senator Manny Pacquiao's allegations that it had been purchasing nearly expired medicines. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said existing policies prohibit the DOH from purchasing medicines that are nearing expiration just so these can be bought at much lower prices. Vergeres noted that the DOH is required to accept and procure medicines with a shelf life of 18 to 24 months. She said medicines, drugs, or supplies that have a shelf life of 12 months can only be procured in times of public health emergencies. Vergeres said the DOH would wait for Pacquiao's camp to submit their evidence to the agency so it could respond properly. Pacquiao earlier claimed that corruption in government worsened under President Rodrigo Duterte's watch and mentioned DOH as one of the corrupt government agencies. The House of Representatives has spearheaded a pre-State of the Nation address campaign called Sa Lahat ng Pagbabago, Salamat Pangulo. Speaker Lord Alan Velasco said this is part of a series of initiatives highlighting the accomplishments of the Duterte administration in preparation for President Rodrigo Duterte's 6th and final State of the Nation address, or SONA, on July 26. House members will produce videos featuring the priority programs that were implemented and made possible since President Duterte assumed office in 2016. Velasco said under the Duterte administration, Congress was able to pass laws on universal health care, free tertiary education, and the Bangsamoro Organic Law, among others. Congress and the executive also worked together to produce laws designed to help address and cushion the impact of COVID-19, such as the Bayanihan Laws and COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act. The prices of basic goods and services rose slower in June to 4.1%. This is from 4.5% recorded in March, April, and May. The Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, reported on Tuesday that food and transport costs drove the slower increase. The inflation in June this year is still higher than the 2.5% recorded in June 2020. The reading is also slower than 4.3% point inflation forecast of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas for June, which was expecting a target range of 3.9 to 4.7%. It, however, brings the country's average inflation for the first half of 2021 at 4.4%, or over the government's target band of 2 to 4%. And in our business news, the Gov't Group has expressed support for the government's initiatives against COVID-19, particularly disease prevention and vaccination. In a statement, JG Summit President and Chief Executive Officer Lance Gov't said they are supporting the national vaccination program through various initiatives in partnership with the local government units. To date, Cebu Pacific has transported some 9 million COVID-19 vaccine doses from China to Manila as part of the government's vaccination program. The airline has ferried more than 1.8 million of these doses to various cities, municipalities, and provinces. Meanwhile, a total of 27 Robinsons malls have partnered with LGUs nationwide to serve as their vaccination sites. Gokongwei Group employees belonging to the priority categories are also among those who are able to avail of the vaccination rollout. FINMA Group also expressed support for the government's COVID-19 vaccination program as it started immunization for its employees. On Monday, the company launched its own vaccination program that gives free COVID-19 jabs to employees across all of its business units. FINMA President and Chief Executive Officer Ramon Del Rosario said they have secured 26,000 doses for employees, dependents, and partners and service providers. Del Rosario said the firm has also allotted vaccines for vulnerable sectors in need of additional jabs. FINMA is also partnering with several LGUs and the Department of Health in Region 7 for the vaccine rollout of employees who are part of the A4 priority group. Up next, unmasking evil, the government's anti-insurgency reveals yet another sinister scheme of the communist movement. And from the streets to the rice fields, police officers are proving to be more than just law enforcers. We tell you later why. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. A former rebel shot down assertions of the CPP, NPA, NDF that they simply want to push for a communist system in the Philippines, saying all they want is to grab power from the government. Former CPP, NPA, NDF official Jeffrey Celis, alias Ka Eric Almendras, said the communist terrorist group is not advocating civil liberties or political rights. He said they intend to build a pro-communist system through violence and terrorism. He said the atrocities, violent attacks, and illegal recruitment of minor combatants are all maneuvered by the Communist Party of the Philippines. He also said the CPP has a hand in infiltrating legal front organizations and work against the interest of the state. Selly said spreading wrong ideologies, particularly in far-flung communities, must be put to an end.
Ang CPP, NPA, NDF ay hindi po naglalayong magpalaganap ng kapayapaan at ng pagkakaisa ng taong bayan. Ang CPP, NPA, NDF ay binuo upang mag-agaw ng kapangyarihan at pabagsakin ng gobyerno upang may tayo ang sistemang makakomunista sa pamamaraang marahas, madugo at pumapatay at gumagamit ng terorismo.
The National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict has revealed the existence of Operation Delta, an organized move to slander and discredit the spokesperson of the NTF-ELCAC. Undersecretary Lorraine Marie Badoy, spokesperson on social media and sectoral concerns, said Oplan Delta was hatched by National United Front Commission or NUFC head Nathaniel Santiago of the CPP and PA-NDF. Other high-ranking party members like Maria Sol Taule, who acts as a lawyer for NPAs, and the party list group Karapatan participated in the said meeting. Badoy said that a committee was formed against each NTF-LCAC spokesperson to spread of black propaganda to destroy their credibility. She also revealed that the NUFC is targeting civic groups who are educating the public on the CPP, NPA, NDF. Former CPP, NPA, NDF official Jeffrey Celis alias Ka Eric Almendras confirmed the plot to demonize the NTF-LCAC spokespersons. National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. meanwhile said Oplan Delta is a sign of desperation among the terrorist group as they can no longer justify their atrocities. Two officers of communist-affiliated groups surrendered to the military in San Fernando, Bukidnon last week to start a peaceful life with the help of the government. Paulette Castillo alias Ella, regional coordinator of the Rural Missionaries of the Philippines, and Lita Gallo alias Nancy, logistics officer of Haran Center, surrendered to the 89th Infantry Battalion in Sitio Balacayo, Barangay Kalanganan on July 1. Battalion Commander Lieutenant Colonel Donald Gafud hailed the two for their courage in abandoning the armed struggle. He called on other communist terrorist personalities to avail of the government's Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, or ECLIP, which offers opportunities to start living in peace with their families. And in our news overseas, Pope Francis underwent surgery for asymptomatic diverticular stenosis of the colon. Matteo Bruni, director of the Holy See's press office, said the 84-year-old pontiff was admitted to the A. Gemelli Polyclinic in Rome for surgery. The Vatican did not provide any further information on the operation. This was Pope Francis's first known hospitalization since he became the Catholic Church leader in 2013. Several leaders sent get well soon messages after news of his hospitalization was made public. A poor farming family in Tabukbok village in Marcos, Ilocos Norte received some unexpected help as local police went the extra mile to transplant his rice field. Jimmy Macalipis, a widower with 11 children, had been contemplating on how he could finish transplanting his 2,000 square meter rice field. He did not expect members of the Ilocos Norte 2nd Provincial Mobile Force Company to come over to help him and his children. The company was led by Major Jason Batuyong, who said it is an honor to be of service to people in need. As part of their outreach programs, the police community in Ilocos Norte is actively providing various social services such as coastal cleanups, tree planting, gift giving, and feeding programs. Marcos Town is one of many areas being cleared of insurgency with the help of the Duterte administration. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Final salute. President Rodrigo Duterte pays his last respects to troops who died in last weekend's C-130 plane crash in Sulu. He assures their sacrifices will not be in vain. Vaccination going full steam. Over 11 million Filipinos have already been vaccinated against COVID-19, and the figures are expected to rise as vaccine supplies pour into the country. Dealing with a brewing disaster, government agencies continue to provide assistance to those affected by the continued unrest of the Taal volcano. And a sigh of relief for consumers. The country's inflation, or the rate of increase in prices of goods and services, eased to 4.1% in June. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day. Stay safe, everyone.